Cash One Pawn, Missoula's #1 pawn shop.
You want money? We got money. You need money? We got money. We're cash.
Do yourself a favor and make Cash One Pawn part of your online shopping habits. Cash One Pawn has an awesome online inventory, everything from firearms to power tools to speaker equipment to jewelry. Visit Cash One Pawn today.
Cash One Pawn.
8720 Roller Coaster Road, CashOnePawn.com.
Yo, Tara, what up, E?
What's going on? Man, those are some nice medals.
Yeah, man, these are hard to come by.
Yeah, well, I've got 2 of them.
Well, that's nothing like going to March Madness, though.
We did go to a national championship.
Okay, guys, whatever. Let's just get on the Montana party bus and head over to Press Box for lunch.
Yo.
Nuanez now and Skyline Sports, covering Montana athletics and the Big Sky Conference better than anybody. The Montana Party Bus and the Press Box are also proud supporters of Montana athletes.
Hey, cheers to you guys, man. Cheers to Montana. Cheers to chasing more championships.
Well, last week he said he wanted to do something every week, so we're holding him to it. Jordan Tripp joining us here on the Big Sky Breakdown. We'll probably play a little bit of this on Nuanez Now, our ESPN College Game Day as well. But this one a little bit more free-flowing than maybe last week. Last week we talked a lot about Jordy and his sort of broadcast path to get into the booth this last week. But this week we'll be talking formatively about what happened last week with the Griz and what's going to happen this week with the Griz. But thanks for doing this, man. How you doing?
Yeah, doing good, bro. How you doing?
Good, man. It was fun to listen to you on Saturday. I always try to watch the game back at least twice, and you did great, so good job. I know we were talking about the nuances of all of it, but probably had to feel pretty good about your first time in the booth, huh?
Yeah, I thought it was a good start. I mean, it helps having Trey. He's
money, man. He's really good.
so good, and his preparation it's unbelievable how prepared he is and the lengths that he goes to understand the scheme, the game, and the personnel, and just his processes. So he's taught me a lot there, and that alone helped me out a ton. Even though I'm not a play-by-play guy, it helped me out a lot. And then, I mean, it was easy. Like, he set me up with everything, so I knew pretty much when to talk and when to be done every single time. And there's obviously a lot that I can work on, like we talked about, and I'm going to. But I think it was as good a start as it could have been, and a good spot to build from.
So let's talk about what you saw actually in the game then. Montana got off to a little bit of a slow start. One thing Coach Houck talked about in the weeks leading up is that they really tried their best to stay healthy during fall camp. A little lighter when it comes to contact, that's a total departure if you know anything about Bobby Houck at fall camp and the way he likes to run stuff. But, I mean, I think pretty smart because last year coming out of camp, I mean, some of their best players were all banged up, and that's a tough way to start a season. So
It's so true. I mean, I was talking to their strength coach at practice last week, and we were just sitting there going, how happy he is that, I mean, in the best way, that camp's over. And I said, yeah, I feel like camp is the hardest part of the year, and that's when you're the most banged up. And it came up because of the first round bye, or the first week bye. I'm sorry, not first round. And I was like, in a sense, I mean, that's kind of nice because you get a heal up from a Coach Houck camp, which historically those have been just grinders. When we were in Spokane, I told Coach Houck, I'm like, I remember we went 28 days in a row and we didn't have a break, and I just felt like I got hit by a truck after camp, and I was like, I could use a week off, man. And so they got a week off. I mean, they don't have one during the season, but that's kind of nice. I mean, get a week off, get healed up, and he went a little bit lighter on contact. I know that talking to him during the week, he was a little bit concerned and questioned how the tackling was going to go. I think that it showed up in the first half, and then they kind of caught their stride in the second half a little bit. In terms of the tackling, but yeah, man, those Coach Houck camps are tough.
You probably know this from your NFL time too, because there is a little bit of shaking off the rust, right? Because a lot of times in NFL, there's not a lot of contact as you get closer to the season, except for in the preseason games, right?
There is. I mean, they have. So, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. In training camp, you're gonna have heavy contact, for 2 to 3 days, and then a light day. But the preseason games and practices, I would say the practices are almost more important than the games
Sure.
to make the team. And there's a lot of contact in those. But then when you get into the season, I mean, you're in ball caps, and I mean, you're expected to tackle and tackle well. I mean, you'd hit maybe once a week and the furthest you'd go into the season is like week 7 or 8. I mean, I remember with Seattle, Pete Carroll and Dan Quinn. I mean, we're in ball caps like by week 8 in jerseys, and then you're just getting ready to go for Sunday. So, I don't know. I mean, if you learn how to play and practice the right way fast, I think there's a formula and a way to do it and stay healthy rather than beating the hell out of yourself.
Yeah, well, but then you did see the Grizz really turn a corner defensively in the second half, and so much of that was just tackling, right? I mean, they just shook the rust off and actually were just bringing guys to the ground a lot more effectively.
Yeah, I mean they were wrapping up and driving through contact in the second half. I think a lot of it though, I mean there was a lot of missed tackles in the first half. There's a lot of good tackles. I mean, I can think of one series in particular where Tolbert and Wing had 2 very good physical plays to get the ball carrier on the ground. But I think a lot of it was due to shaking the rust off and being out of position. I mean, your brother knows. I mean, I know it's like if you're a half a step off of your leverage and you go to make a play on a pretty good player, which Central Washington had some pretty damn good players, you're going to probably miss the tackle. I mean, against a good player. And in the second half, I mean, you could just see from a scheme standpoint, their alignment was better. I think they tempered it back a little bit on what they were doing, and they just let them play some ball. And I mean, maybe they didn't, but they just looked a little bit more comfortable, and they owned their leverage a lot better and tackled better.
I'm glad you said that Central Washington was good because I thought the same thing. And it's funny because Griz fans, first of all, are unbelievably passionate, and that's what you love about them for sure. Yeah. They also there's been these few spurts in Griz history where they just destroyed teams. Like I was writing some stuff about the 95 national championship.
Yeah.
And like in the playoffs, they beat one team 48-0. They beat another team 45-0. So people from the past, they think, well, man, the Grizz should just win like 49-0 every single time. It's not that easy. I think people think that when Coach Houck is talking about like, these guys got scholarships, these guys are pretty good. They practice too. I think people think he's like making excuses or placating, but like that Central team that I saw, I mean, I'm not going to name names for the other teams in the league, but I've watched every team in the league. That team's better than several teams in the Big Sky Conference.
They are better than a lot of teams. Those, I'll just say right now, the 2 interior defensive linemen for Central Washington are dogs.
They're dogs, man.
And they ran some line games where I was just watching and I was like, oh my gosh. And then the 2 guys on the perimeter for them at wide receiver, let alone their quarterback and running back, were extremely talented. Their center a couple of times got on the perimeter in stretch zone and up to the second level where I was like, okay, this dude can run. And I mean, yeah, he's 280 pounds, but he could move and get in your way. And I was impressed with the quarterback and how efficient he was and how he didn't make bad decisions. And I mean, yeah, they turned the ball over a couple of times. That play by Keon Loud was a great play.
He's really good, man. He's one of their most talented guys.
Yeah, a little side note on that, when we were in the meeting with Tim last week on our production call, he just said, he's like, I think that this kid potentially is the most important guy in our defense. And yes. I just was like, I wanted him to talk to him more because any lockdown corner that you could have as a coordinator, I mean, yeah, it's one player, but it shuts off one person completely if you want to run man, and it's so important. And that's what they did with him a lot of the night. And he got beat on one, which is a crazy throw and catch by the guy who we're talking about. But they had some dudes, man, and it was fun to watch them compete. And glad that Montana came out with the win, just because I'm a Montana fan, even though I'm supposed to be unbiased on the broadcast. So if some of the Scripps guys are listening right now, Quinn, I know you're probably listening. So.
Hey, you got it in your blood, man. You're 3rd generation Griz. You're 37. I mean, it's going to be hard to get it out of you, right? So, thanks so much for listening to the Big Sky Breakdown podcast series and for tuning into our Skyline Sports YouTube channel. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to both the podcast and all your various podcast hosted networks and to the YouTube channel as well. Thanks to our great partners, including Ryan Miller and Coburn Law. Ryan Miller and Coburn are ace attorneys, each with different expertise. Paul Ryan, the master when it comes to DUIs. Angie Miller,
excellent in medical malpractice. Abigail Coburn, federal drug charges, she's the one you want defending you. They can help in any and all sorts of criminal defense cases. They have a live answering service that's available 24 hours a day, 406-542-2233. You can also visit rmcattorneys.com. Ryan and Miller and Coburn, your Montana attorneys. Let's hear from RMC right now.
Tell me about the expansion. You have now two partners. Angie's been with you for a while, but now Abigail joins the team as well. So just tell me about how this has all been going.
Really exciting about both of them, starting with Angie, who's came to us before she even started law school, and she's just developed into such an amazing attorney and person and friend, frankly. I can't be more happy with her and her results. She's such a hard worker and a fighter, and we're just so pleased to have her carry the torch into the future. And then with regard to Abigail, another great story. She had interned for our office when she was going to law school, and then after she graduated, she did other things. And then we were really fortunate. It was a chance meeting at the courthouse, and everything just came together. And the timing was right for her, and the timing was right for us to bring her on. And she's been amazing. She is such a tough attorney, and she takes on very, very difficult cases, and her results are amazing. And it's just a perfect fit for all of us.
Those Central Washington coaches are doing a great job of holding on to some of those guys, though, too, because some of those guys have been there for a while. That quarterback's been there for 3 years. Like, that dude could totally go play at most of the schools in the Big Sky. That guy, I know he didn't have great stats, but, I mean, he can move and groove, and he's, dual threat, and I was very impressed with him. I agree with you, the running back, the center. I mean, he's an All-American at the D2 level. I thought both their interior defensive linemen, one of their linebackers was good. I thought that was a talented team. I thought it's too bad the way the FCS playoff format works, where they discount your non-D1 wins. I get why, because there's so many D2s that you can play that aren't any good.
There aren't a Central Washington caliber. I mean, they're like you just said, if Central Washington played in the Big Sky this year, they're going to go. I mean, I'd put money on the over of 500, and I'm not. I mean, that's just God's truth.
Yep, I totally agree, man. I think they'd be right there in the middle of the league. I really do. I think they would. What about offensively? I thought that it's been interesting because when Bobby Houck first came back, they really did have. They fed their stars. They had some guys that were great players. Samari Torre, Sammy Akem, who contributes here now at Skyline Sports, Marcus Knight, and Dalton Steve, the quarterback, was great too. And they just really it was sort of a departure from Coach Houck's personality, because they were totally down to score 45 points all the time. And I think it's because they probably weren't as good on defense too. So he kind of knew they had to play like that. But the last couple of years, they have at the same time done a really good job of spreading it around and not having tendencies. But also that's been a sort of a weakness of their offense too, because they haven't had like these go-to plays. And, a lot of people would say, why don't you get Drew Newbergen involved in more? Why don't you have Gilman have more carries, whatever. I thought they let the stars shine on Saturday, though. I mean, it was the Gilman and Michael Wortham show, and it was really fun to watch.
No doubt, man. Watching Gilman get his touches and watching Wortham just give him the ball, man, and let your athletes play. I mean, I think what I liked too was staying with Kaylee and watching him get the ball to his playmakers, and they asked him to throw the ball downfield a few times, but I mean, give him in like a tunnel screen to Wortham, give him the rock to Eli, and then let him get on the perimeter, do a little half roll, do a bootleg, and be balanced. And I thought that they did. They got the ball to their playmakers, and I think in part that is Kaylee being able to see things a little bit slower and get the ball out. And I don't know if it looked a couple of times he had some check with me stuff, which I think was great. I think he'll get more comfortable with that. But they absolutely let their playmakers get the ball. And I think that this is nothing against teams in the past. I think that they have a lot more in terms of people who can be dangerous with the football in their hands on the offensive side of the football this year. And I mean, obviously Gilman and Wortham are two. I think Davis can be extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
Bohannon can be dangerous. I mean, he did a couple of things in the game where he caught that ball when he got drilled. He caught a nice pass on the sideline. And the tight ends, I think that they have the opportunity to have some mismatches. So historically, they've been good. They just have more weapons to utilize this year, and the running back room is flipping loaded. I mean, Eli's a stud, clearly, but it's going to be interesting to see how they decide to get them the ball.
I'm glad you brought up the tight ends because I made sure to ask Gilman about the tight ends in the press conference because that's what people they got to get understand is Gilman he's a big back that he can be his own blocker. He can run the inside zone, but he's at his best when he actually presses it and then bumps it because he's so explosive. But those two long ones he had, I mean, that was all Evan Schaefer just boom, cracking back on those guys. I just think Schaefer is going to be the key to everything that they do because he is such a good inline tight end. I don't know if he's going to catch any balls. I don't even think he cares. He's totally down to just be out there and just run on the edge.
He's a big body. I mean,
Huge.
He's like a small offensive tackle. I
Oh,
mean, the way
I
that
mean,
he
if he
blocks.
wanted to, I mean, he weighs 272. I mean, if he wanted to, he could be 290 like that if he wanted
Long.
to be like that.
Absolutely. And he's long. And I mean, yeah, I mean, like you just said, though, and what Eli does so well is, um, and this is what Chase Reynolds did incredibly well. Any good back, really, but they keep their shoulders square to the line of scrimmage when they press and they don't turn. And when you're a linebacker and you're reading footwork and shoulders, I mean, the second their shoulders turn and they commit, like you can commit, but when you press with your shoulders square and you have the ability to bounce, you can't, unless you're in an 8-man front like North Dakota likes to run. We'll get to that later. You can't just shoot your gap and fire your gun. I mean, if you're in a too high look, you have to wait until they commit. And Central Washington did a little bit of that. And Eli he did so good and he hits the juice and pulls the trigger at the right time. He's just really fun to watch. And he's strong. I mean, he can make the first guy miss a lot of the time. And yeah, that was a couple of those runs were fun to watch.
Last thing on that last week, and then we'll talk about this upcoming game against North Dakota. You mentioned just the film element of this, and I think they can't be understated that Montana didn't have film on Central Washington. They didn't exchange film with them because Montana hadn't played. But Ayat brought that up in the post-game press conference 3 times. He said, "Hey," because somebody asked him about this mistake, but also this good read, and he said all 3 times those were looks I wasn't prepared for because we hadn't seen it.
Yeah.
I think that's really important for him, though, to be able to have a game where he didn't have a bunch of film to prepare for it, see stuff on the fly, and then fight through it. And he made the bad mistake in the goal line, but then he also had a couple where he made great plays, like the one to Drew Deck. That was completely him getting crossed up and then uncrossed, and boom, he hits a wide open receiver for whatever it was, 50, 60-yard touchdown. So I thought that was great progress by a young quarterback.
Totally agree with what you said about that. So Kaylee, that interception that he threw on the goal line, I thought that was a really good defensive call by their coordinator Grant Torgerson. When I was in Atlanta, we used to call that red, and it would be cover 3. But when you're that close to the end zone, there's no post, so your free safety has nobody. So your responsibility as the free safety at that point is just to play low hole and spy the quarterback. So he was spying Kaylee, and they were actually in man free. And then, I mean, great play design by Coach Peace. The guy loses his eyes inside on a fake block, and then he just goes to the seam, which everybody in America runs that play, that little pop. And the safety did a great job just watching his responsibility and drifting underneath the route. And if Kaylee has film on that, would he have seen it? I'd like to think so, but you know what I liked even more is the fact that after it happened, he came back and had a really successful series and he shook it off. And the last couple seasons, he may have not done that, and he may have tried to force it and do a little bit extra. He just forgot about it and went on. I thought that was a really good job by him. And then, a few other things like on the defensive side of the ball, they gave them some looks that, again, it just looked like it didn't look like they were playing slow. It just looked like when they missed tackles, they were out of position. And when you don't have film and to line up, you just have to go off of your rules. And sometimes you're a little bit late. And I thought that they did a really good job at halftime making some adjustments and learning from those. I mean, it looked like a completely different team in the second half after they had seen one half of football from them. And then on the offensive line, Central Washington, we talked about the two interior guys. Central Washington did a really good job doing, I mean, games, stunts and stuff and then bringing a fifth person from depth a few times. And I mean, if your protection's off or you don't understand the count, I mean, Haley, you got hit a few times and they caused pressure, sometimes with the four-man front that I think if you have some film, you watch it. But again, in the second half, they put up 21 points and the defense shut them out. I thought it was a really good job by both sides making adjustments.
Hello, my name is Kelly Ayat, quarterback at the University of Mount Tampa. In the off-season, it's important to do everything you can to prepare for the season. In high school, that means funding your program. In my experience, Vertical Raise is the ultimate online fundraiser platform. Now broaden your reach of your fundraiser and bring in more money than other platforms. And there are no sneaky or hidden fees like other companies. If you're trying to raise money for your program, reach out to Vertical Raise today.
Jordan Tripp here on the Big Sky Breakdown, SkylineSportsMT.com. All right, so let's talk about this UND game. First of all, we were talking about before we started recording about how Eric Schmidt, first-year head coach for North Dakota, when he was working for Bubba Schweigert at first, they were running Bubba Schweigert's like 3-4, and then they made it into a little bit of a hybrid 3-3-5, like very much like the Griz runs, like the stack that Bronco Mendenhall and Rocky Long made so famous. That Bobby Hauck has then sort of put his own spin on. Kent Bear, of course, too, and Roger Cooper and Ronnie Bradford, all these other guys have been DCs there at Montana. But then Eric Schmidt gets the head coaching job at North Dakota when Bubba Schweigert retires, and he promptly changes to a 4-2-5, which is interesting. But also, you wonder if it's spurred on by their in-state rival, because North Dakota State has run like that Gus Bradley, Scotty Hazelton 4-2-5 for forever, since before they were even D1. So back in the 2000s, like 20 plus years, and then that's matriculated down, and that's what Montana State runs now too. So it seems like the en vogue defense right now in the FCS. But what do you think of I guess, explain the differences between the 3-4, the 3-3-5, and the 4-2-5 for sort of the layman fan.
Well, I mean, you can just kind of just to simply put, you can kind of put the 3-4 and the 3-3-5 in the same bucket. And I mean, are they different? Absolutely. Is there certain things you can do with them differently? Absolutely. And then you got just put a four-man front in another bucket, whether it's a 4-2-5 or a 4-3, just put that in the same bucket. Go to Scotty Hazelton, Gus Bradley, the originator of that whole defense, Monty Kiffin at USC with Pete. That's kind of where it all started. And then obviously they brought it from SC to Seattle, and then you got Gus, and then Scotty comes over when Gus goes to Jacksonville, and he's got Robert Saleh, and then Scotty Hazelton, who was actually one of my coaches, and I absolutely loved him. He was great. So I had Saleh and Scotty there, and then obviously Saleh's at San Fran, and Scotty's been all over the place. I mean, DC everywhere. I mean, that guy's a brain. But the two differences are you got the four-man front and you got the three-man front. In the three-man front, you're going to be looking for where's the fourth person coming? Where's the fourth rusher going to be coming? Just like when you don't have pressure in the four-man front, you're going to bring four, or you're going to bring five and have a fire zone, and have one less in coverage at 3 under 3 deep. And the same thing with the 3-3-5. Where's the fourth rusher coming? Or maybe in the fifth rusher, then you're going to have the same thing: fire zone, 3 under 3 deep, or whatever. The 3-3-5, the 3-4, you're going to have a lot more movement pre-snap. It's going to be, for the offensive line, your count, it's going to be, as any 3-3-5 or 3-4 coach would say, that the predictability is what they love about it, is the unpredictability. So you can't predict it as much as you can a 4-2-5 or a 4-3. So with North Dakota, their 4-2-5, which is, in my opinion, like you said earlier, it's the same thing as a 4-3. It's just them saying, we're going to go nickel, we're going to bring in an extra DB, and we trust that we can cover and get home with 4, and we're going to be better than you. And when you say Pete Carroll and Scotty Hazelton and North Dakota State, they're going to play a ton of cover 3 because they have a nickel and they're not going to count on a linebacker being in the box, being able to two gap. So they're going to bring in, if you watch their safeties during the game, they're going to rotate them down, sometimes to the Y, which they'll insert from like a deep hook where you'd see Seattle with Cam Chance or Earl Thomas, usually to the passing strength, away from the passing strength. Look for them like, again, like 3rd and long, away from the passing strength to run like a 3 week where they bring him down on, like, teams love to run late across the middle, like daggers, high, low, and UND loves to do it. They did it all day against Kansas State, and they did a really good job against it, even though they put up 35 points or whatever it was. So that's kind of, I guess, the best I can do to explain the differences.
Yeah, it's interesting because I see the benefits and the drawbacks of running everything, right? And it's funny because in the NFL, I think it's like 50-50. Last I read, I think it's like exactly half, or maybe one more than half run the 4-3. But I mean, 15, 16 teams run a 3-4 or a 3-3-5 or whatever. So much of that is because the interior guys on the defensive line are so superior in the NFL. Like, it's so hard to find that guy at the FCS level.
It's
In the
crazy.
NFL, you go sign, Haloti Nata or some of these other guys that are just,
I
mean, unbelievable freak specimens of humans, so
they require, it's non-negotiable. They require 2, period.
yeah, right.
There's not a team in the world that, I mean, maybe 20 to 25% of the time, but that's the gamble that they take. They require 2 people every time, and if it's a run play and they don't put 2 on them, I mean, like, when I got to play, I was a backup, obviously, but like when I got to play in behind Ndamukong Suh, it's like, okay, so he's the 3 technique and he's sitting in the B gap. If it was a run play and I ever had someone get to me, I knew he made the play. Period. It was just like, I'm blocked, so he made the play, and that's not even that's just how those guys are. So, and that's why, I mean, even going back, that's why a guy like Alex Gubner was so important in this defense that Tim Houck and Roger Cooper are running, is because if you single him, the likelihood, especially on a pass, that he's going to get home is extremely high.
Yes.
And in the run game, he's so good at getting vertical to where if there's any type of zone cut or gap scheme, he's going to get vertical penetration and cut the line in half. So as a linebacker, if you're sitting, in a 10 or a 0, like, just like for people listening, like in an A gap or right over the center, and you get like what Central Washington was doing, a stretch play, and he's maybe in the 3 technique, or if it's going into the boundary, he's going to cut the play off.
Yeah.
And that it's going to come back inside him. So immediately, like, if you get mid zone, like inside, like you're going to blitz downhill and find his nearest hip and just come right off of that. And that's why a guy like him is so integral in a defense, in just any 3-man front. The 0, like the guy over the center or in a shade in a 3-man front is, he might have 30 tackles in a season, but he makes the whole thing go.
And this is why I'm glad you explained that so well, because, well, first of all, when Governor got Defensive Player of the Year, I was so happy that they did that, because it's so far beyond the statistics. Because, like, I mean, he had 35 tackles, but he made 400 tackles for the defense. You know what I mean? Like, all the guys behind him get to have 114 tackles each, because because he's messing up 3 guys at the exact same time, right? I think that's why you saw, because there was a lot of debate over, especially when this defense first started getting run, because some of the linebackers and Robbie Houck too had such gaudy tackle numbers.
Mm-hmm.
But part of that is because the front line on this defense, especially the middle guy, but even some of the end guys too, they're just sacrificing themselves, right?
They're eating up gaps.
Right. So then the free hitters get to be the ones to make all the tackles. So that's why Dante Olson had 170 something tackles in a year. And Robbie had, 4 straight years of 100 plus tackles, because he's the one that gets to run the alley and be the free hitter. And that's why it's so important though to have all the pieces. I think that's where Montana was lacking so much last year. They didn't have that guy in the middle that could just wreck it.
I agree. And that's nothing against, any team or whatever from last year. You see, though, the defensive line this year for Montana, they look and perform different than last year. And the linebackers look and perform, and it doesn't even matter what you look like, but they perform different. And really, the secondary, they have some dogs on the secondary at Montana right now. And it's going to be fun to watch them progress in this defense, because when you have the right personnel to run this, in which I think Montana does this year, the unpredictability factor, it's crazy, because I come from a lot of 4-man front defensive history in what I've done. I've ran plenty of 3-man front at a few different stops. But when you can bring a 4th or a 5th and they get there with suddenness, with physicality, and they're explosive, there's a lot of opportunity for explosive plays on defense. You're going to give up some runs. That's just the nature of the defense, because there are no gaps in that defense. It's all about you canceling gaps and finding your aiming point and coming close to color. I mean, if you know you got a line game in front of you and you're a linebacker who's got the edge responsibility coming from inside, you're coming tight to color. I mean, right off of the outside pressure. So every now and then you're gonna get creased, and that's just the gamble. But you saw the game that I thought was exemplified the best was against North Dakota State in 23. North Dakota State is a historically great running team, and there was so much disruption, vertical penetration, fits that they gave North Dakota State in the passing game to get the ball out, not on time. I mean, that's how it's supposed to look. That's exactly how it's supposed to look when you have the right guys doing it the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the wins over the Cats in 21 and 23 also showed it too, right? Because the Cats run nothing but gap scheme, and they eliminated the gaps. That's the feast or famine in the rivalry of the last 6 years, though, right? Is when you can't cause chaos and you do get gap schemed by the Cats, you give up 375 yards rushing like they did in 19 and 22. But 21, 23, all of a sudden everybody's glitching out and the Cats are running all these option elements and there's no option to be had. And all of a sudden you rush for 14 yards and you're having a meltdown on the sidelines, and the Griz are, sprinting to a 30-point victory.
So it's so true. And I mean, so much of it is situational too, where I mean, when you're playing a game and you're up by multiple scores against a running team that is forced to do something they're not accustomed to doing, then it's a completely different story. As you're in a shootout and it's back and forth, and then you're playing for, you're always playing for possessions and turnovers and trying to get the ball. But there's times when you can, as a coordinator, turn it up a little bit, and times when you can't. And you actually saw it, which I didn't expect to see this, but you actually saw Montana a couple times last week against Central Washington hop into a 4-man front, which I thought was kind of interesting. And to see that they got that in their bag, which I think is great. So it'll be interesting to see if they decide to bring that out a little bit more as the season progresses or not.
Thanks so much for listening to our Big Sky Breakdown podcast series and for tuning into our Skyline Sports YouTube channel. If you have not, please rate, review, and subscribe. Particularly subscribe. Click on the subscribe button. That helps us out a ton. Thanks to our great partners who help make all of this content possible, including Ty Hobbs at Keller Williams Real Estate. Ty's a great friend of mine, guy I lift weights with in the mornings, and a guy I golf with as much as I can, but he's also an ace realtor. I did not choose him as my realtor because he's my friend, although that was a big perk. He is excellent when it comes to everything from efficiency to negotiation to no frills, no BS. He got our house on the market and got it sold in less than 24 hours, more like 4 hours. It was an impressive turnaround. He got us exactly the contract that we wanted. We needed to stay in our house for a couple months because we had a new build coming up. He negotiated that flawlessly. The negotiation part is the number one reason why we chose Ty, but he also has a great acumen when it comes to construction, building, remodels. We had a flood in our house that I needed help with repairing. Boom. He helped me out. Awesome service, awesome job. And if you're in the market for a realtor, Ty Hobbs is your guy. Let's hear more about the current real estate market from the man himself. So let's start with, how would you characterize the real estate market currently in both Missoula and Western Montana?
Well, currently in Missoula, we've seen a rise in inventory and buyer activity slow down a little bit. So it's turning more into a buyer's market, more than I've probably ever seen in the last 10 years or so.
So what does that mean, a buyer's market? How would you define that?
A buyer's market is really just means that there's more homes for sale than there are buyer demand. So buyers have choices, especially in negotiations.
And that means less leverage for somebody that's selling their house, more leverage for somebody that's tried to buy a house, correct?
Correct. More leverage for buyers.
Okay, so if you are a buyer and you hire you as your realtor, how do you go about then sort of taking advantage of that said advantage?
Well, right now you have the upper hand in negotiations, right? And first we start with the CMA and get a value and see where that price falls in, or where the value is for the buyers. And then there's other things that we can negotiate, such as like seller concessions to help buy down the interest rate or give you a temporary break or relief on an interest rate to help with that monthly payment. So
if people want to find out about that and other listings that you have, how do they find them?
Best way is just get a hold of me by phone, 406-544-9794.
Okay.
We switched from the cap to the phone. Jordan's on his phone now, if you're wondering why I went from horizontal to vertical. But I just have a couple more questions.
Here, hold on, I can go like this, bro.
Either way is good.
Perfect. No, I like this better.
All right. So when it comes to Montana versus North Dakota, this is a game that I think a lot of Griz fans think is going to be filled with revenge, which I think is an interesting deal because Montana certainly let one get away last year in Grand Forks for sure.
No doubt.
But also, 50-something guys on this Griz team weren't on that team last year. So I don't know. I mean, do you play much into the revenge game? Is that a thing, or do you not?
So two things on that. I think one, if you do, at least to some capacity, you're going to be taken away from what you can do. I mean, in the present and here and now. And then two, if you say that it doesn't bother you, I mean, you're freaking lying, man, because it absolutely does. If you're an athlete and you're there, but you have to be able to, in my opinion, harness that emotion as much as you can and perform in the way that is going to allow you to be your best and not be focused on trying to get somebody back. I mean, I would always relate it to, the most, and I can talk about it now because I'm not a player anymore. Like when you play Montana State, I mean, you want to beat them so bad as a player that you can't let that emotion drive your level of play or your thought process or anything. You have to stay true to your fundamentals. You have to stay true to your preparation. You have to stay true to what you're coached to do and just not make anything up. So when you have that any athlete, any competitor is going to have that in their mind where they go, we were up 21-7 and got beat 27-24. In the second half, we had 16 plays and I don't even know if they had a first down, whatever the hell it was, until the fourth quarter when Kaylee ran that. It's one of those things where if that's in your mind early, you got to find a way to put that away so you can focus, because any competitive person is going to have that sitting there.
But and last year too, you're right. I mean, North Dakota had these two just crazy drives, 10+ minutes. They held the ball the entire second half. They ball controlled Bobby Houck, which is what he likes to do to most of the opponents that he bleeds out during all the wins in his career. So I'm just interested to see how the Griz approach this game, though, because I do think that sometimes Coach Houck gets into games like that and he revels in it. He loves, we're gonna out tough you, we're gonna out ball control you, all that stuff, and that's all fine and dandy, and he's won a lot more games than pretty much anybody else that's ever coached in the Big Sky Conference or ever coached in Montana. But I do think that with what Montana has personnel-wise right now, particularly matched up with what UND has personnel-wise, I think if you're the Griz, you just got to let it rip. You got to let Ayak keep doing his thing, keep moving and grooving, and I just think that Wortham is going to be a problem for everybody. I just think you got to keep.
He's such a problem.
You got to keep on giving the ball, man. And I think you can't get caught in that ball control. I think you just got to run your stuff and then just try to.
If you end up putting together like they did on like they did against Central Washington, there's a 3-play drive, a 4-play drive, and if I'm mistaken, there was it a 5-play drive for a score, and then the other one was 11 minutes, or I'm sorry, 11 plays, almost 5 minutes, 4:49 or 4:45, So you're going to get a little bit of that. You're going to get the drives where you have, the 11 play 5-minute or 15 play 7-minute. When you give it to Wortham though, and it's on a tunnel screen or a bingo screen, and he takes it for 65 yards, you score. When you give it to Gilman and he, 1, 2, 3, and he rips one off, you're going to score. So I completely agree with you where get it to your guys. If they convert, great. If they rip off some big ones, keep feeding them. And that's awesome. That's why those guys, that's why Coach Houck brought those guys in, because they're dangerous. And as a defensive player, if you're a coordinator, when you have someone like Gilman in Wortham, and I'm going to keep saying it, in my opinion means nothing, but since we're on this call, and Kaylee Yayat, those three people are very difficult to account for. And when you give the ball, and they're on the game at the same time, when you give Wortham the ball, you have to account for him wherever he's at on the field. You watch Central Washington in the second half run, a double play on him when he gets into the red zone, because they got the safety and the guy in the slot on the outside leverage, one guy in the inside leverage, because you got to account for. So that's one more person that they're not having in the box, and now you got Eli Gilman, and it's just a problem to have those dudes. So pick your poison on defense, and that's how I look at it from a defensive player's standpoint. So I completely agree with you. Give your guys the ball, let them rip, and I think it's going to be a problem for a lot of teams to deal with. And I think you're going to end up with a lot more long drives than you think, because you're going to move the sticks on third down. So
that's on the other side. What sort of progress do you want to see Montana make defensively? Obviously they shored up the tackling in the second half against Central Washington. Most coaches would tell you the biggest jump is from game 1 to game 2. I expect the defense to make a pretty big jump.
Yeah. I think it all comes down to, and this is just me I was able to be part of a lot of different defenses, and one consistent thing that I found that I thought allowed you to play any defense, any football at a high level, was clearly understanding your responsibility and clearly understanding the opponent. And then you have that time to where you can anticipate. If you know what you're doing and you can anticipate what the opponent is going to do, and you're not worried about where you're supposed to line up, where your responsibility in the run game is, where your responsibility in the pass game is, what you're supposed to check to when there's a motion, what you're supposed to check to when there's a trade, and you clearly know what you're doing, it gives you room to react and anticipate. And I think that is what I'm looking for now that they're going to have 3 games on University of North Dakota. Is North Dakota going to come out with tendency breakers, new formations? It's America. They absolutely can. But I think that they're going to be more prepared for the opponent, because there's a little bit more of a cache of tendencies and stuff to study and stuff that they can prepare for. So what I'm looking for is to have just cleaner ball. Less misalignments, maybe a little bit less in terms of being late on coverage, less in terms of run fits, miscues. Just like you said, game 1 to game 2 is usually a really big jump. And that's what I'm looking for. I would just say cleaner ball, just a little bit cleaner ball.
Meeting her stopped your world. The ring you give her should stop her heart.
Tina, will you marry me?
Not again! Don't worry, I'm gonna fix this, because we want to be your jeweler! On our beautiful diamond! Clear! Come back to me, Tina! Are you okay?
Valley's Restoration, your view is our view, and what a beautiful view it is. We are proud to be locally owned, locally operated. We love our community here in Missoula, and also the full 5 valleys that we do service. We give back to the community, we service our community. Our kids go to school here, we live here, we play here, and we love it.
Some of that jump, is it a long, Coach Houck loves playing as many guys as possible defensively. That's what I said on my ESPN show today. Like when you're saying starter on defense, it's sort of an arbitrary term because I mean
Yeah,
they're playing those top six linebackers all day long. They're going to play
all
both
day.
defensive
Yeah,
linemen. They're going to play at least three corners, at least five safeties. And even last week they got into even more of the depth though too. I mean,
right.
they played eight linebackers. They probably played seven defensive linemen. So when you are doing that though, they'll probably shore that up a little bit just because it is a more high quality opponent. But does it take a little longer to sort of get into the part where you're talking about where you're just kind of reacting rather than thinking, or how do you sort of expedite that learning curve?
Well, I think you expedite it by getting reps, just what you said, and you got to get young guys reps. I think, in theory, a lot of coaches would like to create depth, and it's hard to do that when you're in a game, even when you're in a game against Central Washington and it's 21-17.5, and you're rolling through the 1-2 and maybe flirting with the threes a little bit in the first half, and you're in a tight game against a good opponent. I think a lot of coaches like to say they want to create depth. What I see always from Coach Houck is he's committed to creating depth, and sometimes that's going to mean guys making mistakes because he wants to have them be exposed to that. So when it is their time to show up in a game and the lights come on, they don't freak out. And with a lot of teams that have been successful with Coach Houck, there has been a lot of depth that you can rely on. And again, it's hard though, because some coaches, you see the ones in the entire game, no matter how close it is. I'll never forget it was when Ty was my linebacker coach, and it was 2009, the year that we actually, now that I remember this, it was 10-7 at half against Western State. And I remember I'm a freshman, and my first snaps were, I was the long snapper, and Coach Houck put me into snap on the 5 coming out of the north end zone for my first play. And I mean, we're not beating the brakes off of Western State. And that year, Montana goes to the national championship. And then the next series, I'm backing up Brandon Fisher, and I'm a true freshman, and Brock is a true freshman backing up Alex Shaw, and Ty throws both of us in the second series, and I completely short-circuited. Like, I was joking with Ty this week about it. He sent me on a pressure, the second play, and they bootlegged right into the pressure, and I forced a bad pass, but had I just done my job, I would have had a sack. And those are the types of things that Coach Houck wants to do to work out, those kinks. So then by the time we were playing against Stephen F. Austin or Appalachian State or whatever, and it was on ESPN, it's like, I've been here before. It did not even feel anything close to that. And then, then the next years after that, you're completely comfortable in having the right alignment and having the anticipation. You have that time to react. But the only way you do that is get reps. And that's it. You can do as much as you want to practice, but it's completely different in the game. When you can't hear and there's 25,000 people in the stands, it's just different, period.
Yeah, totally different. Well, it should be really fun. Any last thoughts on this Griz North Dakota game on Saturday before I let you go?
Oh, man, that's a loaded question. Come on. Yeah, I think that North Dakota has a really good football team.
They're good.
Their offensive line is, the more game film that I watch, they are really good. They're special on their offensive line. I think that their quarterback is really efficient, and I think that he manages the game extremely well and does not put them in. I mean, this is only going off of 3 games, so he doesn't put them in bad positions. When it's crunch time, he knows where he's going to go with the ball, and if there's nothing there, he just doesn't make a bad decision, and that's really hard to deal with for a defense. And so, on the other side, I think that Montana and their offense has the potential to be extremely explosive this year. I mean, more in years that I've seen in the past. And I'm going to keep saying it. I think that Kaylee Ayat has the potential to be so special. You saw flashes of it. We've all seen flashes of it, but the way that he drives the ball, I know, like, just one play. Sorry, Colter, this is taking a while, but like when it was like a cover 4 beater and that touchdown pass to Drew Deck. When he stepped up in the pocket and drove, and just flicked the ball. people don't probably look, that was damn near 40 yards, and he flicked it. And then there was a 1st and 10 that ended up being a 2nd and 2. It was an 8-yard gain, and he was on the right hash, and he threw the ball outside the numbers to his left, and it was across the 50-yard line. That was probably almost a 40-yard pass, and he just flicked it. And his ability to do certain things that we haven't had here in a while is so special. And I really hope that he can continue to just keep his world calm and play, within himself, because if he does that, this team could be very special. So those are my final thoughts, and I just really look forward to seeing that hopefully come to fruition for Montana. And then just this game on Saturday is going to be awesome, man. I mean, 5-16, it's week 2.
Yeah, I'm so interested. The number one thing I'm interested about with North Dakota is how do they perform on the road, because they've just been so uneven. Like basically everybody that's gone to the Alerus Center in the last while has lost, but every time they leave, it's crazy how Jekyll and Hyde they've been between home and away, right? I mean,
it's crazy.
Last year they beat the Griz. 2 years ago they beat North Dakota State, but then they lose at Indiana State. I mean, it's wild the way how much different they are home and away. But you have to think that Eric Schmidt knows that, and you have to think it's something he's absolutely addressed with his staff and probably even with his team as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's funny you bring that up. The fact that they've been so successful at the Alerus Center, and then I mean they looked like they weren't even rattled at all against Kansas State. Obviously, they end up with a loss late in the game, and I mean they gave that thing. I don't want to say they gave it away, but they had every opportunity to win, and they should have won that game against Kansas State. They absolutely outplayed Kansas State. I mean, they're a good football team, and it doesn't look like they get rattled on the road, but the record would show otherwise, that they're winning at home and they're not winning on the road. I mean, I don't think that they're going to have any issue coming into Washington Grizzly and performing after they played at Kansas State in front of 60,000 people. I mean, I think it's going to be an absolute dogfight, and it should be so fun to watch a really good North Dakota team play, in my opinion, a really good Montana team. So
it'd be good for the Grizz to get tested, I think. I thought last week was a nice first test, week 1, but I guess their week 1, but I think it's good for the Grizz to get tested. It's funny because there's a narrative out there that the Grizz have such an easy schedule because they have such so many games. There's so many home games. Bobby Houck has just been shutting that all the way down, all the way since the Big Sky kickoff in July. He's like, no, man, we have to play Idaho. We have to play North Dakota. We have to play Sac State. We have to play Montana State. Like, this is not.
Like, what are you talking about? Just because Montana plays Central Washington. I mean, let's look at Montana State. So Montana State opens up with Oregon and South Dakota State. Then look at the
next, right?
The next. It's okay. So yeah. So I mean, and they don't have an easy schedule. Look at Montana. They open with Central Washington. Okay, so your next game's North Dakota, and then a few games after that, you got Idaho. I mean, come on, like let's be real here. But that's just the people, as you know, in the conference, just chirping at each other.
Oh, totally, man. Well, it's like McElwain's always said. McElwain's a Missoula guy, and he's climbed all the way to the top of the ranks, and he says, Montana, that is the best and the worst job in all of college football to be the head coach. Yeah, because you have people that are just crazy for this stuff, but also they expect you to go 16-0 every single year and
win by 50.
50-0, 16 times in a row. Then we'll be happy.
It's so true. I know, man. It's like against Central Washington, it's 21-17.5. It ends up 45-17 at the end of the game, and people are you're going nuts, man. I'm just like, you guys, these are college athletes. These are good players. I'm like, these guys were at Washington State and UW and Idaho. Like, they had so many FBS guys, and they're just like, just going nuts. It's funny.
It's awesome. That's what makes it great, and that's why
it's so great.
Goes like this, because guess what? Tons of people are going to watch it, and they're going to love it, and that's why we appreciate you doing it. So thanks for being here, buddy.
Well, thanks for having me on, man. This is going to be fun to do every week. I know I said that last week, but it'll be fun to sit back down here next Tuesday or Wednesday and go through this again. That'll be fun.